Hey guys, what's up? Paulimberous here. And today I was gonna do another video about PragerU because they made a video, get this, about the medieval era. And if you know me, you know this is gonna be really fun. But I can't. This is awful attire for a video on the medieval era. So yeah, I'll be right back.
No period of history is more misunderstood or underappreciated than the Middle Ages.
What about the Viking era?
The 10 centuries from the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century to the start of the Renaissance in the 15th.
I suppose you could call that the Middle Ages. Piece of shit.
This is especially true between the year 1000, when global warming brought grapes to England and grain to the coasts of Greenland.
Okay, yeah, so there actually was a warming period in the medieval era, around 1000. It was, it's very commonly referred to as the medieval warming period. It's a little bit cheeky of you to call it the global warming. So, yeah, that was dumb.
Doubling the population and reviving town life all across Europe. And 1348, after the warming had ended and the Black Death arrived from the east.
Global warming versus Mongolia.
Let's take a closer look at these years. We'll make a good start by dispelling some nonsense.
Okay, yeah, dispelling some nonsense. I can get down with that. It's really nice to see that people are finally dispelling some of the rumors about the medieval era.
Of the Middle Ages did not believe the Earth was flat.
Yeah, the only people who would think that are the people who went to Prager University.
They knew it was round. The ancients said it was round. The fathers of the church said it was round. They saw its shadow during an eclipse of the moon, and the shadow was round. They saw masts of ships sinking below the horizon.
Yeah, no, that's an Age of Sail ship, not a medieval ship, you moron.
Round. More nonsense. The Middle Ages were cheerless.
Okay, have you never seen a movie where there's like a ball going on in the Middle Ages and there's people and they have their arms linked and they're like da 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 and there's just music playing everywhere and everyone's having a grand old time. Now, I've never seen that. Yeah, I've never seen. Sure, I've seen videos and movies that are like everything's depressing and everything's. But no, of course you've seen videos where it's like medieval dances and people having fun and all the peasants and all whatnot. What kind of fucking movies do I? And I'm not gonna sit here and say those movies are in the slightest bit accurate at all, but here's the thing. He's basing a lot of these misconceptions, or at least what I can see, off of movies and people who are absolute idiots. So, there you go.
Quite the reverse. They were full of color.
When I wish hearts are happy,
Black Death.
the world is
Of celebrations involving everybody in town. They invented the carnival. They revived popular drama, which had lain dormant for 1,000 years.
So you see, according to this, they say popular drama had been laying dormant for 1,000 years. And I really don't want to fact check this, but I'm going to use a tad bit of logic to see how far you've actually come, okay? So, 1,000 years, I'm going to assume at the very earliest, because they said they revived, okay? I'm going to assume at the very earliest, we're talking about the 11th century, the 1000s, okay? And so 1,000 years earlier from that was the year it was the year just 0, right? The year Christ was born. And you gotta remember the Roman Empire was still pretty strong. The Romans were pretty influenced by who? The Greeks. The Greeks did what? They made plays.
Whatever they did, whether it was sinning or fighting or repenting or falling in love, or traveling thousands of miles to Rome or to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they did it with energy.
Yes, because according to the laws of physics, you need energy to do those things. I just broke your video. You cannot refute that point.
And gusto. What do we owe to the Middle Ages?
You know, despite the fact we really can't give anything to the Middle Ages, here, I'm gonna give it a whirl. We owe monarchies, the collapse, and the waiting to create larger governments until really the 1800s, or 1700s if you want to be like that. Let's see what else. Oppression of peoples with rigorous class systems up until, like, the 1800s, pretty easily, except for in the United States. Anything else? What about all the religious tension in the world with the Judaic religions? Isn't that, I'd have to say that's pretty middle-aged inspired. I suppose on that note, you could even talk about, Spain just fucking destroying South America in the name of Catholicism.
How about the university? Medieval man invented it.
That's why people call the ending of the Dark Ages the Renaissance, or the rebirth, right? Because they're rebirthing the old Roman and Greek traditions of actually giving a shit about learning. I should say learning things that are correct and not having corrupt kings.
For the first time in the history of the world, you could go to Paris or Bologna or
Padua or Oxford or Prague or Cologne and study under masters of law, medicine, philosophy, and theology, and your degree, designating you as a master or a doctor, would hold good anywhere in Europe.
It was an international community of scholars. A young Thomas Aquinas, born in southern Italy at the beginning of the 13th century, would travel to Cologne to study philosophy under the philosopher-biologist Albert the Great, then to Paris, where he taught theology and philosophy, then to Rome, and back to France. And this sort of thing was the rule among scholars, not the exception.
How many serfs do you think could afford to go to college in the Middle Ages?
How about modern science? Thomas's teacher, Albert, was a biologist. Why should that surprise us?
It shouldn't. Biology was not some fucking unheard of thing, right? It was just incredibly different and misunderstood in their time.
Medieval man believed that God made the world as an ordered whole. They learned it both from scripture and from pagan thinkers, such as Aristotle.
Keep that in mind, he just said Aristotle, one of the great Greek thinkers.
Science did not burst on the scene with Galileo.
That guy's absolutely right.
Copernicus died in the 16th century, but he was a priest astronomer at a Polish university founded in the Middle Ages. He wasn't even the first man to suggest that the Earth orbited the sun. Others had ventured the suggestion.
Okay, well, if you asked me, I would say that science actually started in the Greek peninsula. Well, it didn't start there, but come on, are you kidding me? Do you know how many things came from the Greek peninsula? Do you know how many thinkers there were there? It was amazing. The minds on the Greek peninsula in the ancient times outweighed anything the Middle Ages could muster. There was nothing. There was not even a comparison.
Most prominent was the late medieval Nicholas of Cusa, a philosopher and a cardinal in the church.
Yeah, late medieval.
How about architecture? If the Middle Ages were dark and ignorant, how come ordinary people, masons, carpenters, painters, sculptors, glazers, erected the most beautiful and majestic buildings to grace the earth, the Gothic cathedrals?
Now, I'm more of an ancient architecture guy myself, but are you fucking kidding? Oh, the Great Pyramids of Giza. That's jack shit. I don't know what those are. What's that? Is that the Pantheon?
Without power tools, with pulleys and winches and scaffolding and their bare hands,
with all these tools and their bare hands,
they built up lacework in stone and glass, flooding vast interior spaces with color and light. We have nothing to match their complexity.
Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, Burj Khalifa. Also, if you would like to work on that logic, then the Egyptians being able to build the pyramids of Giza without wheels, I think that's a far bit more impressive considering how many huge stones they had to lift to do that. So you can just take your monasteries and fuck off.
And beauty. And art? Studying the ancients, medieval man produced whole genres of art.
What he just said is by mimicking people of antiquity, medieval art was born. Okay, that's like saying that a gun from World War II is amazing and brilliant because it's similar to a gun from World War I. is dumb.
that the world had never seen. There had never been anything like Dante's Divine Comedy
Aristophanes.
or Chaucer's Canterbury Tales.
I think the reason for that is because nobody cared so little about anything so much before in history.
Or the Arthurian legends of Chrétien de Troyes, or the paintings of Giotto, or the astonishingly beautiful and precise work of the illuminators of manuscripts.
Man, wow, you mean to tell me that there were some talented people within the span of 1,000 years on an entire continent? Huh.
What else do we owe to them?
Germ theory.
Western music. They invented our musical notation.
What the fuck do you mean they? It's like... If I was talking about World War II and I said... I was talking about the Asian theater and I said, they attacked. It's like, what? Who are you talking about?
And Western harmony. Not to mention the humble carols we enjoy at Christmas time. A tradition of local self-government.
Oh, piss off for that. Okay, so essentially, I think what he's getting at is feudalism. Yeah, but no, feudalism, I wouldn't like it. Essentially how it worked was, there were a bunch of these really strong dudes called knights, and they went around, and if you wanted to not do what they asked you to, you would have to fight them, but they had castles, and they would just stay in the castle and wait till other people came, or you were just defeated. Or you could just listen to them and do like a ton of stupid shit for like the rest of your life, yeah. Feudalism was pretty bad. But everything was fragmented because you couldn't pay that many knights. You couldn't really field large armies, so they just kept everything fragmented.
Witness the chartered towns all over Europe. Free associations of men.
Yes, but that didn't really apply to everyone, so...
United for the common good. Friars, guildsmen, members of lay orders devoted to good works, people who established schools, orphanages, and hospitals.
By people, you mean the Catholic Church.
Far from the Dark Ages, which it is popularly called.
No, it's not true. The Dark Ages were a period after the Roman Empire fell to before the early medieval era. You're a moron. Do some research. Come on, stop being an idiot.
The Middle Ages might better be described as the Brilliant Ages.
You know, I'd actually have to go with the, I don't know, antiquity for that.
A startling epoch of progress from science to art, from philosophy to medicine.
Over the course of 1,000 years. Are you fucking...
Indeed, in one crucial way, we are less civilized than those who enhanced human existence over 1,000 years ago.
Really, I'm thoroughly fascinated. Oh, well, can you explain this?
We dismiss the achievements of our ancestors.
And that's it, the video ends. It is almost definitely a mess up on me ripping this video from YouTube. I don't care, I'm done. I made another video, guys.